No one tells you to conform anymore. There are no orders, no rules posted on walls, no voice demanding alignment, and yet people adjust themselves constantly. They lower their tone, soften opinions, round sharp edges, avoid standing out, not because they were told to, but because they learned what happens when they don't. The signal isn't punishment. It's discomfort, a pause in conversation, a look that lingers too long, a subtle shift in how people respond. Nothing overt, nothing dramatic, just enough friction to make difference feel risky. This is how conformity works now. It doesn't silence you. It makes speaking costly. You notice it early. You think something, then edit it before it leaves your mouth. You feel a reaction forming, then smooth it out. You sense that a certain thought will require explanation, so you drop it. Not because it's wrong, but because it doesn't fit. And fitting matters more than being precise. Over time, this self-adjustment becomes automatic. You don't weigh every decision consciously. You just know what will land well and what won't. The mind starts running simulations in advance. If I say this, how will it be received? If I do that, how will it look? If I don't align, what happens next? This isn't paranoia. It's adaptation. Humans are extremely sensitive to social signals. Belonging has always been tied to survival, but modern environments amplify that sensitivity. Feedback is immediate. Visibility is constant. Deviation is noticed instantly. And when deviation is noticed, it doesn't need to be punished. It just needs to be marked. That mark can be subtle. Silence where there was engagement. Distance where there was warmth. Awkwardness where there was ease. The brain registers it immediately. Standing out equals friction. So people learn to blend, not into one identical shape, but into a narrow range of what's acceptable. Difference becomes something to manage, not express. Uniqueness becomes a risk calculation. Authenticity becomes conditional. This is the signal. Not censorship, not oppression, alignment. A quiet narrowing of what feels safe to be. And the most effective part, people don't experience it as control. They experience it as maturity. Social intelligence, knowing how to read the room. They tell themselves, this isn't the time. This isn't the place. It's not worth the reaction. And little by little, standing out stops feeling like expression. It starts feeling like exposure. That's when conformity no longer needs enforcement. It's already internal. Conformity does not start with rules. It starts with awareness. The human brain is built to detect deviation. Not abstract deviation, but social misalignment. Who pauses when you speak? Who looks away? Who changes tone? Who stops responding altogether? These signals are quiet, but they are constant. The brain doesn't wait for punishment. It anticipates it. This is where the war begins. At first, the adjustment feels harmless. You soften a phrase. You delay a thought. You choose silence instead of friction. You tell yourself it's maturity, tact, efficiency. But something else is happening. Your mind is learning where the edges are, not because someone drew them, but because crossing them creates tension. And tension is expensive. It drains energy. It invites scrutiny. It disrupts belonging. So the brain adapts. It runs simulations before you speak. What happens if I say this? What does this cost? Is this worth the reaction? Most thoughts fail this test before they ever surface. That's the key. Control no longer needs enforcement. It runs internally. Expression becomes conditional, not on truth, not on clarity, over time, this filtering becomes automatic. You don't feel silenced. You feel selective. You don't feel constrained. You feel aware. But awareness has a direction. The brain rewards alignment with relief. No pushback, no awkward silence, no subtle distancing. Just smooth interaction. That relief is powerful. It teaches the mind that blending in equals safety, standing out equals cost, and the mind always chooses the cheaper option. This is why conformity feels voluntary. No one orders it. No one demands it. It emerges naturally as a survival strategy in environments where visibility is constant and deviation is remembered. The more connected the environment, the narrower the acceptable range. Eventually, something shifts. You stop asking, "Is this accurate?" You start asking, "Is this allowed?" And once that question replaces the first, the war is already lost, because the most effective form of control doesn't suppress speech. It trains the mind to censor itself before speech even exists. Conformity is not the end goal. It's the byproduct. The real objective is something quieter. Predictability. When minds align themselves, systems no longer need to correct behavior. They only need to maintain the environment. Once the acceptable range is internalized, control becomes efficient. No force, no censorship banners, no visible pressure, just expectation. You already know what will land safely. You already know what won't. So the system doesn't silence you. It waits, and you do the work. This is why conformity scales so well. It doesn't require coordination. It doesn't require agreement. Each individual adjusts independently. But the outcome is collective uniformity. Different people, same edges. Over time, this creates a dangerous illusion. People believe they are choosing freely. But only among pre-approved options. The range feels wide. Until you approach the boundary, that's when resistance appears. Not loudly, not aggressively, but subtly, through disengagement, through withdrawal, through quiet signals that say, "This is not welcome here." Most people don't push past that moment, not because they're weak, but because they're human. Belonging matters. Stability matters. Cognitive ease matters. And conformity offers all three. The cost is harder to notice. Original thought doesn't disappear overnight. It erodes. Gradually, you stop exploring ideas that don't fit. You stop articulating thoughts that require defense. You stop noticing how narrow the space has become. Until one day, expression feels effortless, but hollow. That's the trade. Ease over accuracy. Safety over clarity. Acceptance over truth. And by the time the discomfort becomes conscious, the system no longer needs to intervene. The mind has already adapted. This is why conformity is the most effective weapon in psychological war. It leaves no fingerprints, creates no martyrs, triggers no alarms. It doesn't crush dissent. It makes dissent feel unnecessary. Before you leave, take a second to check if you're resubscribed. Most people think they are. They usually aren't.